The afternoon sun streamed through the home office windows as Simone sat at her desk, reviewing marketing reports for her latest campaign. At 34, she had built a successful career as a marketing director while maintaining what she believed was a strong marriage. Her dark brown skin glowed in the natural light, and her natural curls were pulled back in a professional bun. She wore her favorite navy blazer, even though she was working from home. Standards mattered to Simone. From the room across the hall, she could hear her husband Derek's voice drifting through his cracked office door. He was in another virtual board meeting for the investment firm where he worked as a senior analyst. Normally, Simone tuned out his work calls, but something in his tone made her pause. He was laughing. Not his professional chuckle, but the genuine, unguarded laugh he usually reserved for private moments. God, she has no idea, Derek's voice carried clearly. Simone actually thanked me last week for being so dedicated to work. Can you believe that? Simone's fingers froze on her keyboard. A woman's laugh joined Derek's. The sound was bright, flirtatious, and completely inappropriate for a board meeting. You're terrible, the woman said, her voice dripping with amusement. But seriously, Derek, how much longer are you going to keep this up? It's been 2 years. 2 years. The words hit Simone like a physical blow. Her heart began pounding so hard she could hear it in her ears. With trembling hands, she slowly stood from her desk and moved toward the hallway, careful to keep her footsteps silent. Heather, baby, we've talked about this, Derek replied, his voice dropping to an intimate tone that Simone recognized. That was the voice he used to use with her. The timing has to be right. I need to make sure everything is set up properly before I make any moves. The prenup she signed is pretty tight, but I've been moving assets around. Another few months and I'll have enough secured that she can't touch it. Simone pressed her back against the hallway wall, her breathing shallow. This could not be happening. Derek, her husband of 7 years, was discussing their marriage and their finances with another woman. And not just any woman, Heather. Simone knew exactly who she was. Heather worked at Derek's firm. Simone had met her at company events. She was blonde, ambitious, and always seemed too friendly with Derek. But Simone had trusted her husband. She had pushed away the uncomfortable feelings and called herself paranoid. What a fool she had been. I transferred another $10,000 to your account yesterday, Derek continued. Did you get it? I did, Heather purred. You're so good to me. I can't wait until we don't have to hide anymore. I'm tired of being your secret. I want to go places with you, be seen with you. Soon, Derek promised. I just need to be smart about this. Simone handles all the household accounts, but she doesn't pay attention to my investment accounts. I've been skimming money from our joint savings for months now, and she hasn't noticed a thing. She's so trusting, it's almost too easy. The casual cruelty in his voice made Simone's stomach turn. She slid down the wall, sitting on the floor as tears began streaming down her face. But even as her heart broke, her mind was already working. Derek thought she was naive. He thought she was stupid and trusting and easy to manipulate. He was about to learn how wrong he was. You know what's funny? Derek was saying. Last month, Simone asked if we should think about starting a family soon. Can you imagine? I've been planning my exit for 2 years and she's thinking about babies. Heather laughed again and Simone felt something inside her harden. The tears stopped. She wiped her face and stood up, her legs steady despite the earthquake happening inside her. She walked quickly back to her office, grabbed her phone and opened the voice recorder app. She hit record and placed her phone on her desk, turning the volume up as high as it would go. Then she crept back to the hallway, positioning herself where she could hear clearly. The board meeting is supposed to start in 5 minutes, Heather said. We should probably wrap this up. Let them wait, Derek replied. I'd rather talk to you. Besides, I'm the one who prepared the quarterly reports. They need me more than I need them. You're so confident, Heather said admiringly. It's one of the things I love about you. I love you too, Derek said easily, as if those words didn't belong to someone else. As if he hadn't said them to Simone just that morning. Simone's phone recorded every word. She stood in that hallway for 20 more minutes, listening as her husband and his mistress discussed their affair, their plans, and how gullible Simone was. They talked about trips they had taken together, claiming they were work conferences. They laughed about close calls when Simone had almost discovered them. They discussed how Derek had been systematically hiding money from their joint accounts. When voices finally joined the call, indicating the actual board meeting was starting, Derek's tone shifted immediately to professional and businesslike. Simone heard him greet colleagues, dive into financial reports, and present himself as the competent, trustworthy man everyone believed him to be. But Simone had heard the truth. And she had every word recorded. She walked back to her office, stopped the recording, and immediately backed it up to 3 different cloud services. Then she sat at her desk, staring at her computer screen without seeing it. Her hands were shaking, but not from weakness. From rage. From betrayal. From the absolute determination that was building inside her like a tidal wave. Derek thought he was playing her. He thought he had been so clever, moving money around, planning his exit, keeping his affair hidden. He thought Simone was going to be the victim in his story. He could not have been more wrong. Simone opened a new browser window and began searching for divorce attorneys who specialized in cases involving hidden assets and financial abuse. She composed emails to forensic accountants. She started a detailed document cataloging every suspicious behavior she could remember from the past 2 years. When Derek finally emerged from his office 3 hours later, cheerful and relaxed from his call with his mistress, he found Simone in the kitchen preparing dinner. She looked up and smiled at him, the same warm smile she had always given him. "How was your meeting?" she asked pleasantly. "Long and boring," Derek lied smoothly, kissing her cheek. "Same old numbers and projections." "How was your day?" "Very productive," Simone replied truthfully. "I learned some really important things today." "That's great, baby," Derek said, already pulling out his phone to check messages. Probably messages from Heather, Simone thought. As Derek scrolled through his phone, completely oblivious to the storm gathering around him, Simone turned back to the stove. She had 7 years of memories with this man. 7 years of building a life together, or so she had thought. Now she knew the truth. For the past 2 years, while she had been loving him, trusting him, planning their future, he had been betraying her in every possible way. But Derek had made a critical mistake. He had underestimated her. He thought she was weak, naive, easily fooled. He was about to discover that the woman he had been deceiving was stronger, smarter, and far more strategic than he ever imagined. And unlike him, when Simone made a plan, she executed it flawlessly. The mic Derek had forgotten to mute had shattered Simone's world. But from those shattered pieces, she was about to build something better. And Derek was going to pay for every lie, every betrayal, every dollar he had stolen, and every moment of pain he had caused. This was not the end of Simone's story. This was just the beginning of her revenge. Simone barely slept that night. She lay in bed next to Derek, listening to him breathe, watching him sleep peacefully, and feeling nothing but cold fury. This man had shared her bed, her life, her dreams, while systematically destroying everything they had built together. He slept soundly without guilt or conscience, while she stared at the ceiling and planned her next moves. At 6 in the morning, Derek's alarm went off. He stretched, kissed Simone's forehead like he did every morning, and headed to the shower. The moment she heard the water running, Simone grabbed her phone and went to the guest room. She listened to the recording again. In the harsh light of morning, hearing Derek's voice discussing his affair and his financial manipulation was even worse than it had been the day before. But Simone forced herself to listen objectively, taking notes on every detail mentioned. Derek had been having an affair with Heather for 2 years. He had been transferring money to her account regularly. He had been hiding assets from Simone. He mentioned moving money from their joint savings to investment accounts that Simone apparently did not have access to. He talked about the prenup like it was an obstacle to overcome, not a legal agreement meant to protect both of them. Simone had signed that prenup 7 years ago, before their wedding. At the time, Derek had more money than she did, and his family had insisted on it. The prenup stated that any assets either of them had before the marriage would remain separate, but anything acquired during the marriage would be split equally. It was supposed to be fair. But Derek had found ways around it. And Simone was going to find out exactly what he had done. She forwarded the recording to a secure email address she had created the night before. Then she began searching for more information. She logged into their joint bank accounts and started going through transactions from the past 2 years. What she found made her sick. Derek had been taking money out of their savings account in small amounts. 1,000 here, 2,000 there. Nothing large enough to trigger immediate concern, but it added up. Over 2 years, he had taken almost $70,000 from their joint savings. $70,000 that was supposed to be for their future, for the house they talked about buying, for the family they had discussed starting. He had spent it on his mistress and hidden it in accounts Simone could not see. Simone screenshot every transaction. She created a detailed spreadsheet documenting every withdrawal, every transfer, every suspicious charge. By the time Derek came out of the shower, dressed and ready for work, Simone had compiled a file that would have impressed any forensic accountant. "You're up early," Derek said, finding her in the kitchen with her laptop. Couldn't sleep, Simone replied truthfully. Work stuff on my mind. Want to talk about it? Derek asked, pouring himself coffee. The question was almost funny. He was pretending to care about her work while actively planning to leave her. The disconnect between his actions and his words was staggering. No, I've got it handled, Simone said. I'm actually really good at figuring out problems when I put my mind to it. You are, Derek agreed. One of the many things I love about you. Simone looked at him, really looked at him. He was handsome, she had to admit. 6 feet tall, athletic build, warm brown skin, carefully trimmed beard. He dressed well and carried himself with confidence. She had fallen in love with that confidence 7 years ago. Now she saw it for what it really was, arrogance. I have a late meeting tonight, Derek said, checking his phone. Probably won't be home until 8 or 9. A late meeting. With Heather, no doubt. 2 days ago, Simone would have believed him. Today she knew better. No problem, she said easily. I have some things to take care of anyway. Derek kissed her cheek and left for work, taking his lies with him. The moment his car pulled out of the driveway, Simone was on the phone. Her first call was to Janet Rodriguez, a divorce attorney whose name had come up repeatedly in her research the night before. Rodriguez specialized in high-asset divorces involving hidden money and financial manipulation. Her success rate was extraordinary, and her reputation was fierce. Rodriguez and Associates, a crisp voice answered. My name is Simone Carter, she said, her voice steady despite the trembling in her hands. I need to speak with Janet Rodriguez about filing for divorce. My husband has been hiding assets and having an affair. I have evidence of both. There was a pause. Can you come in today? Yes, Simone said immediately. As soon as possible. 2 o'clock. I'll be there. Simone's second call was to her best friend, Natasha, who was a financial advisor at a competing firm. They had been friends since college, and Natasha was one of the most discreet people Simone knew. Simone. Natasha answered, concern immediate in her voice. What's wrong? You sound terrible. Derek's been cheating on me for 2 years, Simone said bluntly. With someone from his office. He's also been stealing money from our joint accounts and hiding it. Natasha swore colorfully. Are you sure? I have a recording of him admitting all of it. He forgot to mute his mic during a call with her yesterday. That idiot, Natasha breathed. What do you need? I need to know how to protect my money. I need to understand what he can and can't access. And I need to do it without him knowing I'm onto him. Come to my office, Natasha said immediately. I have a client meeting until noon, but I can see you at 12:30. Bring everything you have, bank statements, account information, the recording, all of it. Simone spent the morning pulling together every financial document she could find. 7 years of tax returns, bank statements, investment account statements, insurance policies, property deeds. She made copies of everything and stored the originals in a safe deposit box she opened at a different bank, one Derek did not use. At 12:30 she was sitting in Natasha's office, watching her friend's face grow darker as she listened to the recording. He's a piece of garbage, Natasha said flatly. And he's also an idiot. He left a clear trail of financial abuse. This recording alone could destroy him in divorce court, but combined with the bank statements you've shown me, he doesn't stand a chance. What do I need to do? Simone asked. Natasha pulled out a legal pad. First, stop contributing to the joint accounts. Second, open a new checking account in your name only at a different bank. Third, redirect your direct deposit to that new account. Fourth, document every penny he's taken and where it went. Fifth, do not, under any circumstances, let him know you're on to him until your lawyer tells you it's time. Why wait? Because if he knows you're filing for divorce, he'll hide more money. Right now he thinks he's in control. Let him keep thinking that while you build your case. The element of surprise is your biggest advantage. Simone took notes, her hand steady. What else? Talk to your lawyer about getting a forensic accountant involved. They can trace money Derek thinks he's hidden. They can find accounts you don't know about. And they can prove in court that he's been deliberately stealing from you. At 2 o'clock, Simone walked into Janet Rodriguez's office. The attorney was a sharp-eyed woman in her 50s with gray hair and an air of complete competence. Tell me everything, Rodriguez said. Simone told her. She played the recording. She showed her the financial documents. She explained about the prenup and Derek's plan to work around it. Rodriguez listened to it all, taking notes, her expression growing more satisfied with each detail. This is good, she said finally. This is very good. Your husband made 3 critical mistakes. First, he admitted his affair on tape. Second, he admitted to financial manipulation on tape. Third, he underestimated you. What happens now? Simone asked. Now you continue acting normal while we build a case he can't defend against. I'll file for a forensic accountant to trace every dollar he's moved. I'll prepare divorce papers that detail his adultery and financial abuse. And when the time is right, we'll hit him with everything at once, before he has time to hide more assets or prepare a defense. How long will that take? 2 to 3 weeks to gather everything we need. Then we serve him, file for an emergency order to freeze the accounts and proceed to court. With the evidence you already have, this should be straightforward. He's violated the prenup by hiding marital assets. That changes everything in your favor. Simone felt something like hope stirring in her chest. He's going to lose. He's going to lose big, Rodriguez confirmed. But you need to keep playing your role. Go home, act normal, do not give him any reason to suspect you know anything. Can you do that? Simone thought about Derek sleeping peacefully in their bed while she plotted his downfall. She thought about Heather laughing at how gullible Simone was. She thought about 2 years of lies and betrayal. I can do that, she said with certainty. That evening, when Derek came home at 9 o'clock, claiming his meeting had run late, Simone smiled and asked about his day. She listened to his lies and responded with interest. She played the role of the trusting wife so well that Derek never suspected a thing. But upstairs, in a locked file on her laptop, Simone had a recording that would destroy him. She had financial evidence that would expose his theft. And she had a team of professionals preparing to ensure he paid for every moment of his betrayal. Derek thought he was playing Simone. But she had already won this game. He just did not know it yet. The next 2 weeks were the longest of Simone's life. Every morning she woke up next to a man she now despised. Every evening she made dinner and small talk with someone who was actively planning to destroy her financially. Every night she pretended to sleep while her mind raced with plans and strategies. But she never broke character. Not once. During the day while Derek was at work, Simone met with Janet Rodriguez and the forensic accountant Rodriguez had brought onto the team. His name was Thomas Park and he was brilliant. Within 3 days, he had traced money from Derek's obvious transfers to Heather's account to several other accounts Derek had opened without Simone's knowledge. Your husband has been planning this for a while, Thomas said, showing Simone a detailed chart of Derek's financial movements. He has 3 separate investment accounts that you're not listed on. He opened them during your marriage using money from joint accounts, which means they should legally be considered marital property. But he's been hiding them. How much? Simone asked. Thomas looked at his notes. Combined, approximately $200,000. Simone felt like she'd been punched. $200,000. Money they had earned together, saved together, planned to use for their future. And Derek had hidden it, stolen it, and intended to walk away with it while leaving her with nothing. Can we get it back? She asked. Yes, Thomas said confidently. With the recording you have and the paper trail I've found, we can prove he deliberately hid marital assets. The court will not look kindly on that. Rodriguez added, we're also going to request that he pay your legal fees as part of the settlement. Financial abuse is serious, and judges don't appreciate husbands who try to cheat their wives out of what's legally theirs. Simone absorbed this information, adding it to the growing file of Derek's crimes. Adultery, financial manipulation, theft, lying. The list grew longer every day. What about Heather? Simone asked. Can we do anything about her? Rodriguez considered. Legally in the divorce? No. She's not your spouse, so she's not part of these proceedings. However, she paused meaningfully, if their affair involved misuse of company resources, that's a separate matter. Do you know if Derek ever used company funds or company time for their relationship? Simone thought about the recording. He mentioned trips they took together that he claimed were work conferences. Would that count? Potentially, yes. Especially if he charged those trips to company accounts while using them for personal purposes. That's a violation of most corporate ethics policies. An idea was forming in Simone's mind. Derek's company has a strict ethics code. I remember him talking about it when he first started there. Relationships between colleagues have to be disclosed to HR, and they're prohibited if there's any power dynamic or if they interfere with work performance. Is there a power dynamic between Derek and Heather? Rodriguez asked. Derek is a senior analyst. Heather is an associate analyst. He has seniority, though I don't think he's her direct supervisor. Still enough of a power imbalance to be concerning to most HR departments, Rodriguez said. And if they've been hiding the relationship for 2 years while working together, that's definitely a violation. Simone felt a smile pulling at her lips. It was not a kind smile. So if someone were to report their relationship to HR with evidence, the company would have to investigate? They would, Rodriguez confirmed. And if they found violations of company policy, there could be consequences for both Derek and Heather. What kind of consequences? That depends on the company and the severity of the violations. But termination is certainly possible, especially if they can prove the relationship affected work performance or involved misuse of company resources. Simone filed that information away. She was building a complete picture now, not just of Derek's betrayal, but of all the ways it could come back to destroy him. At home, Derek remained oblivious. He continued his affair, continued his lies, and continued treating Simone like she was too stupid to notice. Each lie he told gave her more ammunition. Each time he came home late from a meeting, she documented it. Each unexplained charge on their credit card, she screenshot and added to her file. One evening, Derek mentioned that he and some colleagues, including Heather, were going to a conference in Miami the following month. It's a big industry event, he explained. 3 days of networking and presentations. Should be good for the firm. Sounds great, Simone said pleasantly. Will spouses be invited? Derek barely hesitated. No, it's just employees. Pretty boring stuff, really. You wouldn't enjoy it. Simone smiled. I'm sure you're right. But the next day, she called the hotel where the conference was supposedly being held. There was no industry conference scheduled. Derek had lied, which meant he was planning a romantic trip with Heather and calling it work. Simone documented everything. She took screenshots of the hotel website showing no conference. She checked Derek's company calendar, which he had foolishly shared with her years ago and never revoked her access to. The Miami trip was listed as personal time off, not a work conference. He was using their money and lying about it being for work. That was fraud. That was theft. And Simone was going to make sure everyone knew it. 2 weeks after she had first heard Derek's unmuted microphone, Simone sat in Rodriguez's office with a file 4 inches thick. This is incredible, Rodriguez said, flipping through the documentation. You've built a stronger case than some private investigators I've worked with. Every lie, every transaction, every piece of evidence carefully documented and cross-referenced. I'm a marketing director, Simone said. I know how to build a compelling case and support it with data. Well, you've certainly done that. Thomas has finished his forensic analysis, and combined with your documentation, we have everything we need. Rodriguez leaned forward. Are you ready to proceed? Simone thought about Derek sleeping peacefully every night while she lay awake in pain. She thought about Heather laughing at how easy she was to fool. She thought about 2 years of lies and betrayal and stolen money. I'm ready, she said. Good. Here's how this is going to work. Next week, Derek's company is having their annual gala, correct? Simone nodded. It was a big event, black tie, attended by all the senior staff and board members. Derek had asked her weeks ago if she wanted to go and she had said yes. At the time, she thought it would be a nice evening out. Now she saw it as the perfect opportunity. You're going to attend that gala with Derek, Rodriguez said. You're going to be the perfect wife, charming and gracious. And at exactly 8 o'clock, my process server is going to approach Derek and serve him with divorce papers in front of his colleagues. Simone's eyes widened. In public. He humiliated you by having an affair with a coworker and discussing it openly. He deserves to experience some public humiliation himself. Plus, it prevents him from having time to hide more assets before we freeze the accounts. The moment he's served, we file an emergency motion to freeze all joint accounts and his individual accounts pending the divorce proceedings. He's going to be furious, Simone said. Good, Rodriguez replied. Angry people make mistakes. We want him off balance and reactive. It makes our job easier. What about Heather? Rodriguez smiled. That's up to you. You have documentation of their affair, including the recording. You could send it to their company's HR department. You could send it to Heather's husband. Or you could do both. She has a husband? Simone asked, surprised. According to my research, yes. Married for 5 years. No children. Simone sat back in her chair. Heather had destroyed Simone's marriage while being married herself. She had laughed at Simone's trust while betraying her own husband's trust. The hypocrisy was staggering. I want to send everything to HR and to her husband, Simone said. She should face consequences too. I can arrange that, Rodriguez said. We'll send the evidence to HR the same day we serve Derek. That way he can't warn her or try to get their story straight. And I can have the information delivered to her husband separately. Simone nodded. Do it. For the first time in 2 weeks she felt like she was truly in control. Derek thought he was pulling all the strings, making all the plans, staying 2 steps ahead. But Simone had been watching, learning, planning, and building a case that would destroy everything he had worked for. The gala was in 5 days. In 5 days, Derek's carefully constructed lies would come crashing down around him. In 5 days he would learn that underestimating Simone was the biggest mistake of his life. And Simone would be there to watch it happen, wearing her best dress and her most satisfied smile. The 5 days before the gala felt like 5 years. Simone moved through her daily routine with mechanical precision, playing her role perfectly while her mind counted down the hours until Derek's world would explode. She went to work, led marketing meetings, reviewed campaign strategies, and performed her job flawlessly. Her colleagues noticed she seemed more focused than usual, more intense. One coworker asked if everything was okay. Simone smiled and said she was working on a big project. That was true, just not the kind of project they imagined. At home, Derek continued his double life with staggering arrogance. He took phone calls from Heather in the next room, not bothering to fully close the door. He sent her text messages while sitting on the couch next to Simone. He even had the nerve to criticize Simone for spending too much money on groceries while he was transferring thousands to his mistress. Each interaction hardened Simone's resolve. She documented everything. The phone calls, the texts, the financial criticisms. All of it would be useful. 3 days before the gala, Derek reminded Simone about the event. Don't forget, the gala is Saturday night, he said. You should wear that green dress I like. The one that shows off your figure. Simone looked at him, this man who had shared her bed for 7 years, who had promised to love and cherish her, who was now treating her like a prop in his fake life. I was thinking about the blue one actually, she said mildly. The green one is better, Derek insisted. Trust me. I know what looks good on you. Trust him. The irony was almost funny. Okay, Simone agreed. The green dress. She had no intention of wearing the green dress. She had bought a new dress specifically for Saturday night. It was red, bold, and beautiful. She was going to look stunning when Derek's world collapsed. She wanted him to see exactly what he was losing. 2 days before the gala, Rodriguez called with an update. Everything is in place, the lawyer said. The process server will be at the gala. He'll approach Derek at exactly 8 o'clock and serve him with the divorce papers. The emergency motion to freeze the accounts will be filed electronically the moment Derek is served. By 8:15 he won't be able to access any of the money he's been hiding. What if he causes a scene? Simone asked. Let him. It only makes him look worse. Besides, security will be there if things get out of hand. But I don't think Derek will make a scene. Men like him are too concerned with their image. He'll be shocked, angry, but he'll try to keep his composure in public. And the information to HR and Heather's husband? Being sent Saturday afternoon. HR will receive a detailed report of Derek and Heather's affair, including evidence that they violated company policy by failing to disclose their relationship and by using company resources for personal matters. I've included documentation of the Miami trip Derek claimed was for work but was actually charged as personal time. What about Heather's husband? He'll receive a package with proof of the affair. We're keeping it factual and letting him make his own decisions about what to do with the information. Simone felt a pang of sympathy for Heather's husband. He was about to have his life destroyed just like she had. But he deserved to know the truth just as she had deserved to know it. The day before the gala, Simone went to the salon. She got her hair done, her nails done, a facial, the full treatment. She was going to look absolutely flawless. When Derek saw her tomorrow night, she wanted him to realize exactly what he had thrown away. That evening, Derek came home with flowers. Cheap grocery store flowers, not the expensive bouquets he used to bring home when they first got married. Simone wondered if he was bringing expensive flowers to Heather now. What are these for? She asked. Do I need a reason to bring my beautiful wife flowers? Derek replied, kissing her cheek. Yes, Simone thought. You need a reason because you never do this anymore. This is guilt, or a distraction, or another manipulation. They're lovely, she said aloud. Thank you. She put them in water and made dinner while Derek showered. Over pasta and salad he talked about the gala, about which board members would be there, about how important it was for him to make a good impression. This promotion is so close I can taste it, he said. Senior Vice President. 6-figure salary increase. Corner office. Everything I've been working toward. Simone thought about the report that would land on his boss's desk tomorrow afternoon detailing his affair and ethics violations. That promotion would evaporate like morning dew. I'm proud of you, she lied smoothly. Derek beamed. I couldn't have done it without your support, you know? You've always been there, taking care of everything at home so I could focus on work. I appreciate that. He appreciated her. He appreciated how easy she had made it for him to betray her. We're a team, Simone said, the words tasting like ash in her mouth. That night, lying in bed next to Derek for what she knew would be one of the last times, Simone felt no sadness. Only anticipation. Tomorrow the truth would come out. Tomorrow Derek would face consequences. Tomorrow her real life would begin. Saturday morning dawned clear and bright. Simone woke early and went for a run, needing to burn off the nervous energy coursing through her. When she returned, Derek was still sleeping. She showered, made breakfast, and began preparing for the evening. At noon, Rodriguez texted, "Everything is on schedule. The package to HR will be delivered at 3 p.m. Process server will be in position by 7:30. Are you ready?" Simone typed back, "I'm ready." The afternoon passed slowly. Derek spent most of it on his phone, probably texting Heather about the evening. Simone spent it getting ready with meticulous care. She did her makeup flawlessly, styled her natural curls to perfection, and at 6 o'clock she put on the red dress. It was stunning. Form-fitting, elegant, with a neckline that was sophisticated but showed off her collarbones and shoulders. The color made her dark skin glow. She looked powerful. She looked beautiful. She looked like a woman who knew exactly what she was worth. When she walked downstairs, Derek was already dressed in his tuxedo. He looked up and his eyes widened. "I thought you were wearing the green dress," he said. "I changed my mind," Simone replied. "Do you like this one?" Derek looked her up and down and something flashed in his eyes. For just a moment Simone saw recognition. Recognition of what he was losing. But then it was gone, replaced by his usual confident smile. "You look beautiful," he said. "I'm going to have to fight off every man there." "I can take care of myself," Simone said. They drove to the gala in Derek's car. He talked the entire way about work politics, about who would be there, about his strategies for networking. Simone listened with half an ear, her mind on what would happen in less than 2 hours. The gala was being held at an upscale hotel downtown. The ballroom was decorated with dramatic lighting and elegant centerpieces. Well-dressed people mingled, drinking champagne and making business connections. Simone and Derek walked in together. Several people greeted Derek enthusiastically, and he introduced Simone with pride. "My wife, Simone." As if he valued her. As if he hadn't been planning to discard her like trash. They made their way through the crowd. Simone spotted Heather across the room, wearing a tight black dress and flirting with some senior executives. When Heather saw Derek, her eyes lit up. Then she saw Simone and her expression became carefully neutral. Simone smiled at her. A cold, knowing smile. Heather looked away quickly. At 7:30, Derek excused himself to network. Simone watched him work the room, shaking hands, laughing at jokes, being the charming, successful man everyone thought he was. At 7:45, Simone positioned herself near the bar where she would have a clear view of Derek. Her phone buzzed. A text from Rodriguez. "Process server is in position. 5 minutes." Simone ordered a glass of wine and waited. Her heart was pounding, but her hands were steady. At precisely 8 o'clock, a man in a dark suit approached Derek, who was standing in a group with 3 board members and Heather. "Derek Carter?" the man asked. "Yes." Derek replied, confused. "You've been served," the man said, handing Derek a thick envelope. Derek took it automatically, his face showing bewilderment. "What is this?" "Divorce papers," the process server said clearly. "Have a good evening." The group around Derek went silent. Derek tore open the envelope, his face going from confused to shocked to furious as he read the first page. Heather's face went white. The board members stepped back, clearly uncomfortable. Derek's eyes swept the room and found Simone. She was standing by the bar, her wine glass raised in a small salute. Their eyes met across the crowded ballroom. In that moment, Derek understood. She knew everything. She had known for weeks. And she had been planning this. Simone watched as understanding and then rage filled Derek's face. He started moving toward her, pushing through the crowd. But before he could reach her, 2 security guards intercepted him. Apparently Rodriguez had anticipated this and arranged for security to be ready. Simone set down her wine glass, picked up her clutch and walked calmly toward the exit. Behind her, she could hear Derek shouting her name, demanding she come back, calling her names that made nearby guests gasp in shock. She didn't look back. She walked out of that ballroom, out of that hotel and got into the car she had arranged to have waiting. As the driver pulled away from the curb, Simone's phone rang. Did everything go according to plan? Rodriguez asked. Perfectly, Simone said. Derek has been served and he's not handling it well. Good. The accounts are frozen. He can't touch any of the money. HR received the report about his affair at 3 this afternoon. And Heather's husband received his package as well. Simone leaned back in the car seat, feeling lighter than she had in weeks. It was done. The trap had been sprung. Derek's secrets were exposed. And now the real revenge would begin. What happens next? Simone asked. Now, Rodriguez said with satisfaction in her voice, we watch Derek's life fall apart while we build yours back up. Simone smiled as the car carried her home. Home to a house she would soon have all to herself. Home to a life she was going to rebuild into something better than Derek could have ever given her. The revenge had begun. And it was going to be spectacular. Simone did not sleep that night. She sat in the living room with a cup of tea, lights off, waiting. She knew Derek would come home eventually, full of rage and accusations. She was ready for him. At 11:30 she heard his car pull into the driveway. The engine cut off, but the car door didn't open immediately. He was sitting out there, probably trying to compose himself, trying to figure out what to say. After 10 minutes the car door finally slammed shut. Derek burst through the front door, his tuxedo jacket gone, his bow tie undone, his face twisted with anger. How could you, he shouted. How could you humiliate me like that in front of my colleagues? In front of the board members? Do you have any idea what you've done? Simone stood up calmly, turning on a lamp. The soft light illuminated her face, showing no fear, no anger, only cold determination. I know exactly what I've done, she said quietly. I exposed a liar and a thief. A thief? I haven't stolen anything. That money was mine. That money was ours, Simone corrected. Money you earned during our marriage, which according to the prenup you insisted on, is marital property. Money you hid in accounts I didn't know about. Money you transferred to your mistress. That's called financial abuse, Derek. And theft. Derek's face went red. You've been spying on me? I've been paying attention, Simone replied. Something I should have done sooner. But you made it easy for me. You forgot to mute your microphone during a call with Heather 3 weeks ago. I heard everything. Your affair. Your plans to leave me. Your strategy to hide our money. All of it. She watched the color drain from Derek's face as he realized his mistake. The unmuted mic. The careless conversation with Heather. That one error had undone 2 years of deception. You recorded it, he said flatly. I did. And I have documentation of every dollar you moved, every lie you told, every violation of our marriage and our prenup. My lawyer has all of it. The forensic accountant has traced every account you thought you'd hidden. It's over, Derek. You lost. Derek sank onto the couch, his head in his hands. For a moment, Simone almost felt sorry for him. Almost. Then she remembered Heather's laugh, Derek's casual cruelty, 2 years of betrayal. Simone, please, Derek said, his voice changing from angry to pleading. Can we talk about this? Work something out? We can go to counseling, fix this. I made mistakes, but we can get past them. No, Simone said simply. What do you mean no? Just like that? 7 years of marriage and you're throwing it away over a mistake. A mistake. Simone's voice rose for the first time. You had a 2-year affair. You stole money from our joint accounts. You planned to divorce me and leave me with nothing. You mocked my trust and called me gullible. That's not a mistake, Derek. That's a choice. Multiple choices, made over and over again for 2 years. I love you, Derek tried. I know I messed up, but I love you. You don't love me, Simone said. You love what I gave you. Stability. A home. Someone to take care of things while you focused on your career. Someone to show off at company events while you slept with Heather on the side. That's not love. That's using someone. Derek stood up, anger returning. Fine. You want a divorce? You'll get one. But I have lawyers too. Good ones. You're not going to get everything you think you are. Actually, I am, Simone said. Because I have evidence you can't refute. I have recordings, financial documents, witness statements. I have proof you violated our prenup by hiding marital assets. My lawyer is very confident about our case. We'll see about that, Derek snapped. He headed toward the stairs. I'm getting my things. I wouldn't, Simone said calmly. The court order that froze our accounts also stipulates that you can't remove any property from this house without court approval. If you take anything that could be considered a marital asset, you'll be in contempt of court. Derek turned slowly. You can't be serious. Completely serious. You can pack clothes and personal items only. Everything else stays until the court divides it. Where am I supposed to go? That's not my problem. Maybe Heather will take you in. Oh wait, Simone smiled coldly. She's probably dealing with her own issues right now. The package of evidence about your affair was delivered to her husband this evening. Around the same time, HR at your company got a detailed report about your ethics violations. Derek's face went pale. You told her husband? You went to my company? I provided truthful information to interested parties, Simone said. Just like you would expect any honest person to do. You vindictive. Be very careful what you say next, Simone interrupted. I've been recording this conversation. Anything threatening or abusive you say will be added to my evidence file. Derek looked around and spotted the small recording device sitting openly on the coffee table. His mouth opened and closed like a fish. You need to leave, Simone said. Tonight. Pack a bag and go. My lawyer will contact yours to arrange a time when you can get more of your belongings. This is my house too. Not anymore. The emergency court order gives me exclusive occupancy pending the divorce. You have 20 minutes to pack and leave, or I call the police and report you for violating a court order. Derek stared at her like he was seeing her for the first time. Maybe he was. For 7 years, he had seen what he wanted to see, a trusting wife who would never question him. Now he was seeing the real Simone. The strong one. The smart one. The one who wouldn't be manipulated or abused. I never meant to hurt you, he said quietly. Yes, you did, Simone replied. You just didn't think you'd get caught. You didn't think I was smart enough to figure it out. You thought you could steal from me, lie to me, cheat on me, and walk away clean. You were wrong. Derek went upstairs without another word. Simone listened to him moving around in their bedroom, opening drawers, packing a suitcase. 15 minutes later, he came back down with a large duffel bag. At the door, he turned back. I hope you're happy. You've destroyed my career, my reputation, everything I worked for. You destroyed those things yourself, Simone said. I just made sure everyone knew about it. And Derek. She waited until he met her eyes. I'm going to be very happy. Happier than I ever was with you. He left, slamming the door behind him. Simone heard his car start and pull away. Then silence filled the house. Her house now. She sat down on the couch and let out a long breath. It was done. Derek was gone. The first phase of her plan was complete. Her phone rang. It was Natasha. Please tell me you're okay, her friend said immediately. I'm better than okay, Simone replied. It's done. He knows everything. He's gone. Where did he go? I don't know and I don't care. That's not my problem anymore. How do you feel? Simone thought about it. Free. I feel free. Good. Because you deserve to be free of that garbage human. Are you sure you're okay alone tonight? I can come over. I'm fine. Actually, I'm going to sleep better tonight than I have in weeks. After hanging up with Natasha, Simone locked all the doors, changed the security code, and went upstairs. She looked at the bed she had shared with Derek and felt nothing. No sadness, no regret. Just relief. She stripped the bed and put on fresh sheets. This was her bed now. Her room. Her home. And she was going to fill it with better things than Derek's lies. The next morning, Rodriguez called with updates. Derek's company launched a formal investigation into his conduct, the lawyer reported. Based on the evidence we provided, they've suspended him pending the results of the investigation. Heather has also been suspended. What does that mean? Simone asked. It means neither of them can work or access company resources while the investigation is ongoing. And given the evidence of their affair and misuse of company funds, I'd say termination is very likely for both of them. And Heather's husband? According to my sources, he's filing for divorce. Apparently, this wasn't Heather's first affair. He's been suspicious for a while, and your evidence gave him everything he needed. Simone felt a pang of sympathy for the man, but mostly she felt satisfaction. Heather was facing consequences. Derek was facing consequences. Justice was being served. What's our next step? Simone asked. We prepare for the divorce proceedings. Based on the evidence we have, I expect Derek's lawyer will push for a settlement rather than going to trial. No lawyer wants to defend a case this one-sided in court. We should expect an offer within the next 2 weeks. And if the offer isn't fair? Then we go to trial and present every piece of evidence we have. Derek will lose even more that way and he knows it. My guess is he'll settle and try to minimize the damage. I want everything I'm entitled to, Simone said firmly. Every dollar he hid, Every asset he tried to steal plus my legal fees? I want him to pay for what he did. He will, Rodriguez promised. I'll make sure of it. Over the next few days, news of Derek's suspension spread through his professional network. Simone's phone rang constantly with people who had heard rumors and wanted to know what happened. She kept her answers brief and dignified. Yes, they were divorcing. No, she didn't want to discuss the details. Yes, she was doing fine. She went to work, held her head high, and refused to be seen as a victim. Her colleagues were supportive, protective even. Her boss pulled her aside and told her to take whatever time she needed. Simone thanked her but said she preferred to stay busy. Work was a welcome distraction, but more than that, it was a reminder of what she had built for herself. Her career, her success, her reputation, all of it was hers, earned through her own talent and hard work. Derek hadn't given her any of that. He had just been there while she built it. 10 days after the gala, Derek's lawyer called Rodriguez with a settlement offer. It was insulting. Derek wanted to keep the hidden accounts, give Simone half the value of the house, and split the joint savings equally, as if he hadn't already stolen most of it. Tell him no, Simone said immediately. Tell him we'll see him in court. Rodriguez smiled. With pleasure. 2 days later, a better offer arrived. Derek would return the stolen money to joint accounts, give Simone 70% of marital assets including the house, and pay her legal fees. It was better but still not enough. He violated our prenup, committed financial abuse and adultery, Simone said. I want 85% of assets, the house with no buyout required, full repayment of the stolen money with interest and all legal fees. Plus, I want it in writing that he cannot make any negative statements about me publicly or professionally. Rodriguez relayed the demands. Derek's lawyer called them unreasonable. Rodriguez calmly explained that the alternative was going to trial, where every detail of Derek's affair, his financial manipulation and his ethics violations would become public record. And with the company investigation still ongoing, public exposure of more details would likely cost Derek any chance of salvaging his career. 3 days later, Derek agreed to everything. Simone sat in Rodriguez's office, reading through the settlement agreement, and felt a wave of satisfaction. She was getting justice. She was getting everything she deserved. And Derek was paying for every lie he had told. Sign here, Rodriguez said, pointing to the line. Simone signed her name with a steady hand. It was over. The marriage was over, the betrayal was punished, and her new life was beginning. Congratulations, Rodriguez said. You won. Simone looked at her lawyer and smiled. No, I survived. Winning comes next. The weeks following the settlement were a strange mixture of closure and chaos. Simone had won legally, financially, and morally. But the emotional aftermath of a 7-year marriage ending in betrayal couldn't be resolved with a court order. Derek tried calling her 17 times in the first week after signing the settlement. Simone blocked his number. He sent emails begging to talk, claiming he needed closure, insisting they could still be friends. She blocked his email. He even showed up at her door one evening, looking disheveled and desperate. Simone, please, he said through the closed door. I just need 5 minutes. I need to explain. There's nothing to explain, Simone replied calmly, her phone ready to call the police. The settlement is signed. We have no reason to communicate. I made a mistake. I'm sorry. Doesn't that mean anything? No, Simone said simply. You're sorry you got caught. You're sorry you lost. You're not sorry for what you did. Now leave or I'm calling the police for harassment. She heard him walk away, heard his car start. She watched through the window as he sat in his car for 10 minutes before finally driving off. After that, he stopped trying to contact her directly. But the fallout continued in other ways. Derek's company completed their investigation 2 weeks after the settlement was signed. The results were decisive. Derek and Heather had violated company ethics policies by failing to disclose their relationship, by using company time and resources for personal matters, and by creating a hostile work environment through their affair. Both were terminated immediately. Simone learned this from Natasha, who heard it through professional networks. Derek is claiming wrongful termination, Natasha reported over coffee. Says the company is overreacting and that his personal life shouldn't affect his employment. Simone shook her head in disbelief. He used company funds to take trips with his mistress. How is that personal? It's not. His lawyer probably told him to fight it to save face, but he won't win. The company has documentation of everything. What about Heather? She's trying to quietly disappear. Moved to a different city, I heard. Her husband took her for everything in their divorce. Simone felt a twinge of satisfaction, followed immediately by shame for feeling satisfaction in someone else's misery. But then she remembered Heather's laugh, her mockery of Simone's trust, and the shame faded. They both made choices, Simone said. Now they're living with consequences. You're handling this remarkably well, Natasha observed. Most people would be a mess. I was a mess, Simone admitted. For about a week after I found out. But then I realized that falling apart was what Derek expected. He thought I'd be broken, helpless, easy to manipulate. Proving him wrong became more important than wallowing in pain. Still, 7 years is a long time. It is. But I'd rather have 7 good years ahead of me than waste more time mourning 7 bad ones. That philosophy became Simone's guiding principle. She refused to let Derek's betrayal define her or diminish her. She went to therapy not because she was broken but because she wanted to understand how she had missed the signs. Her therapist helped her see that she hadn't missed signs, Derek had deliberately hidden them. He had been skilled at deception, at compartmentalizing, at maintaining his double life. You trusted your partner, her therapist said. That's not a flaw. That's what you're supposed to do in a healthy marriage. Derek's betrayal says everything about his character and nothing about yours. Simone worked on believing that. Some days were easier than others. She threw herself into her work with renewed focus. Her boss, impressed by how Simone handled the crisis, gave her more responsibility. She led a major campaign that brought in their biggest client of the year. She mentored junior staff. She built her professional reputation even stronger than before. But she also started thinking about what else she wanted. Working for someone else was good, but was it enough? She had skills, experience, connections. What could she build on her own? The idea came to her during a particularly frustrating meeting where a male colleague took credit for her ideas. Again, she had dealt with this for years, letting it go, being a team player. But watching him present her strategy as his own while she sat silent, something shifted. She was done making things easier for people who didn't deserve her talent. That evening, Simone sat down with a notebook and began planning. What if she started her own marketing consultancy? She had the skills. She had the client relationships. She had, thanks to the divorce settlement, the financial resources to take the risk. She spent weeks researching, planning, building a business model. She talked to other entrepreneurs about their experiences. She consulted with business lawyers about setting up an LLC. She created a website, developed a client pitch, and identified her target market. 3 months after her divorce was finalized, Simone submitted her resignation. Her boss was surprised but understanding. You're incredibly talented, Simone. If you're starting your own thing, you're going to be successful. Can I be your first client? Simone smiled. Actually, I was hoping you'd ask that. She spent the next month building her business. She called it Sterling Consulting, choosing a name that meant excellence and value. Her first 3 clients were companies she had worked with before who valued her skills and were happy to hire her directly. Word spread quickly. Simone Carter, the talented marketing director who had handled her messy divorce with dignity and strength, was now available as an independent consultant. Companies reached out. Her calendar filled up. Within 6 months, she was making more money than she had at her old job and working with more interesting clients. But the best part was the freedom. She made her own schedule. She chose which projects to take. She built something that was entirely hers, that Derek had no part in, that reflected only her talent and hard work. 1 year after discovering Derek's affair, Simone stood in the office she had rented for her growing consultancy. It was a small space, but it was hers. Professional, elegant, filled with the kind of minimalist decor she loved. Floor-to-ceiling windows let in natural light. Her name was on the door. Natasha stopped by to see the new space, bringing champagne to celebrate. To new beginnings, Natasha toasted. To building something better, Simone corrected, clinking glasses. Have you heard from Derek lately? Natasha asked carefully. Simone shook her head. Not in months. Last I heard, he's working at a much smaller firm for a fraction of his old salary. His reputation in the industry is destroyed. Do you feel bad about that? Simone considered the question honestly. No. He destroyed his own reputation by lying and cheating. I just made sure people knew the truth. He had choices at every point. He could have been honest. He could have asked for a divorce before having an affair. He could have not stolen our money. Every consequence he's facing is a direct result of his own actions. You're very zen about this. I've had a year to process it, and honestly, the best revenge isn't making Derek miserable. It's being successful and happy without him. He thought I needed him. He was wrong. I'm better off without him than I ever was with him. Natasha hugged her friend. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of me too, Simone admitted. That evening, alone in her new office, Simone looked out the windows at the city below. A year ago, she had been crying in her home office, listening to her husband mock her trust. Now she was here in a space she owned, running a business she built, living a life she designed. Derek had tried to destroy her. Instead, he had freed her. And she had used that freedom to become someone stronger, more successful, and infinitely happier than she had been in her marriage. She thought about sending Derek a thank you card for the life lesson. Then she laughed at herself and decided against it. Derek was irrelevant now. He had no place in her thoughts or her life. Simone locked up her office, walked to her car and drove to her house. The house was fully hers now, no memories of Derek left in it. She had redecorated, replacing furniture they had picked together with pieces she loved. She had painted walls, replaced curtains, and turned Derek's office into a home gym. The house felt lighter without him in it. Like she had opened all the windows and let fresh air sweep through, clearing out years of stagnant lies. As Simone settled in for the evening with a book and a glass of wine, her phone buzzed with an email. A new client inquiry. A major retail company looking for a comprehensive rebranding strategy. She smiled and opened her laptop. This was her life now. Built on her own terms, free from betrayal, full of possibility. And it was just beginning. The final divorce hearing was scheduled for a rainy Tuesday morning in October, 18 months after Simone had first heard Derek's unmuted microphone. She had been told the hearing was a formality since the settlement was already signed, but she wanted to be there. She wanted to see it officially end. Rodriguez met her at the courthouse. You didn't have to come, the lawyer said. We could have handled this without you. I know, Simone replied. But I want to be here. I want to see it finished. They walked into the courtroom together. Derek was already there with his lawyer, sitting at the opposite table. Simone hadn't seen him in person in over a year. He looked different. Older. Thinner. His suit was nice but not the expensive designer brands he used to wear. He glanced at Simone when she walked in and she saw something flash across his face. Regret maybe. Or just embarrassment. Simone felt nothing when she looked at him. No anger, no sadness, no lingering attachment. He was just a stranger who had once been part of her life. The judge entered and everyone stood. Judge Patricia Henderson was a woman in her 60s with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. She reviewed the file in front of her, then looked up at both parties. This is a dissolution of marriage hearing for Derek James Carter and Simone Marie Carter, she said. I've reviewed the settlement agreement. Everything appears to be in order. Does either party have any objections to the terms as written? No, Your Honor, Rodriguez said. Derek's lawyer hesitated. Derek leaned over and whispered something to him. The lawyer shook his head firmly. Derek slumped in his chair. No objections, Your Honor, the lawyer finally said. Good, Judge Henderson said. She looked directly at Derek. Mr. Carter, I want to be clear about something. I've seen many divorce cases in my career, but few with evidence of financial manipulation as blatant as what I see in this file. You deliberately hid assets from your spouse. You transferred money that legally belonged to both of you into accounts she couldn't access. You committed adultery and violated the terms of your prenuptial agreement. Derek's face went red. Your Honor, I'm not finished, the judge interrupted. The settlement you agreed to is generous to you, Mr. Carter. In trial, I would have awarded even more to Mrs. Carter. You should be grateful she accepted this settlement rather than pushing for everything you tried to hide. Yes, Your Honor, Derek said quietly. Judge Henderson turned to Simone. Mrs. Carter, do you understand the terms of this settlement? You're agreeing to retain the marital home, 85% of marital assets, full repayment of funds that were improperly transferred, plus legal fees. Is this acceptable to you? Yes, Your Honor, Simone said clearly. And you understand that once I sign this order, the marriage is dissolved and the settlement is final? I understand. Very well. Judge Henderson signed several documents. This court finds that the marriage between Derek James Carter and Simone Marie Carter is irretrievably broken. The settlement agreement is hereby approved and incorporated into this final order. The marriage is dissolved. Both parties are free to remarry. She looked up at both of them. I hope you both learned something from this experience. Mr. Carter, I hope you learned that honesty and integrity matter more than money. Mrs. Carter, I hope you build a good life for yourself. Thank you, Your Honor, Simone said. The judge stood and everyone rose. Just like that, it was over. 7 years of marriage, 18 months of legal proceedings, all finished in less than 15 minutes. Rodriguez and Simone gathered their papers and left the courtroom. Behind them, Derek and his lawyer remained seated, probably discussing his next steps. "How do you feel?" Rodriguez asked as they walked through the courthouse halls. "Free," Simone said. "Completely free." Outside, the rain had stopped. Simone stood on the courthouse steps, breathing in the cool October air. It felt like she could breathe fully for the first time in a long time. Rodriguez handed her a folder. "This is your final divorce decree and all the supporting documents. Keep them somewhere safe. And Simone, it's been an honor working with you. You handled this with more grace and strength than most people I've worked with." "Thank you," Simone said. "For everything. You helped me get justice." "You got justice for yourself. I just filed the paperwork." They shook hands and Rodriguez walked back to her office. Simone stood there for a moment longer, looking up at the cloudy sky. Then she got in her car and drove to her office. Her assistant, Monica, looked up when Simone walked in. "How did it go?" "It's done," Simone said. "Officially divorced." Monica came around her desk and hugged Simone. "Congratulations on your freedom." "Thanks. Any messages?" 3 new client inquiries and a call from that reporter who wants to interview you." Simone had been asked several times to do interviews about her experience, about starting her business, about overcoming betrayal. She had always declined, not wanting to make her story public. But maybe it was time. "What publication?" she asked. "Business Women's Magazine. They're doing a feature on female entrepreneurs who turned personal setbacks into professional success." Simone considered. Her story could help other women. It could show them that betrayal wasn't the end, that they could rebuild and thrive. "Tell them I'll do it," she decided. "But I want editorial approval before it publishes." "Will do." Simone went to her office and sat at her desk. The rain started again, pattering against the windows. She pulled up her calendar for the week. 3 client meetings, 2 strategy sessions, 1 speaking engagement at a women's business conference. Her phone buzzed. A text from Natasha. "Heard it's official. Proud of you. Dinner tonight?" Simone smiled and typed back, "Yes. Celebrating my divorce with good food and better company. That's my girl." The rest of the day passed in productive work. Simone met with a new client, a woman-owned tech startup that needed help with their brand positioning. She reviewed marketing strategies for an existing client's product launch. She responded to emails and approved designs. At 6 o'clock, she locked up her office and drove to meet Natasha at their favorite restaurant. Her friend was already there, a bottle of wine already ordered. "To freedom," Natasha said, raising her glass. "To new beginnings," Simone replied. They talked about everything except the divorce. Work projects, weekend plans, a movie Natasha wanted to see. Normal conversation between friends. Felt good. Halfway through dinner, Natasha's phone buzzed. She glanced at it and her eyes widened. "What?" Simone asked. "Did you see this?" Natasha turned her phone around. It was an article in the local business journal. Former investment analyst Derek Carter loses wrongful termination suit. Simone scanned the article. Derek had sued his former company for wrongful termination, claiming his personal life shouldn't have affected his employment. The court had ruled against him, finding that his affair had violated clear company policies and that his termination was justified. "He's lost everything," Natasha said. "His marriage, his job, his lawsuit, his reputation." Simone handed the phone back. "He lost everything he valued. Money, status, career. But those things were never what mattered most. He lost my trust, my respect, my love. Those were worth more than any job or reputation. He just never realized it. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if he'd never had the affair? If you'd never found out?" Simone thought about it. "I used to. But now I know. I would have stayed married to someone who didn't value me, who saw me as convenient rather than essential. I would have wasted more years on someone who was using me. Finding out was painful, but it was also a gift. It gave me the chance to build a real life instead of living in his lie." "You're very wise," Natasha said. "I'm very tired," Simone corrected with a laugh. "Wisdom comes from exhaustion." They finished dinner and said goodbye in the parking lot. Simone drove home through the rain, her windshield wipers beating a steady rhythm. The streets were slick and shiny with water, reflecting the streetlights. At home, she changed into comfortable clothes and made a cup of tea. She curled up on her couch with a book, but found herself staring out the window instead, watching the rain. 18 months ago, discovering Derek's betrayal had felt like the end of the world. Tonight, finalizing the divorce felt like the beginning of everything. She had come through the fire and emerged stronger. She had built a business, regained her sense of self-worth, and created a life she was proud of. Derek's betrayal had been intended to destroy her. Instead, it had refined her, made her stronger, made her wiser, made her into someone who knew her own value and wouldn't settle for less than she deserved. Her phone buzzed one more time. An unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. Hello? Simone. It's Derek. She should have hung up. She had no reason to talk to him. But she found herself listening. I'm not supposed to contact you, he continued. I know. But I needed to say something. Congratulations on your business. I heard it's doing really well. Thank you, Simone said neutrally. I lost the lawsuit against my old company. I'm sure you heard. I did. Everything fell apart after you left. My job, my reputation, my finances. I lost everything. Simone waited. There was more coming. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. Really sorry. Not because I got caught or because I lost, but because I hurt you. You deserved better than what I gave you. Yes, Simone agreed. I did deserve better. And I found better. I found myself. I don't expect you to forgive me, Derek said. I know I don't deserve it. I just wanted you to know that I know I messed up. I had something real with you and I threw it away for something meaningless. Derek, Simone said gently, I appreciate you saying that. But you calling me now is still making it about you. About your guilt, your regret, your need for absolution. I've moved on. You should too. There was a long silence. Then Derek said, You're right. I'm sorry for calling. Good luck with everything, Simone. You're going to do great things. He hung up. Simone set down her phone and realized she was smiling. Not because Derek had apologized, but because his apology didn't matter to her. She didn't need it. She had already moved past him, past the hurt, past the betrayal. That night, she slept peacefully in her house, in her bed, in the life she had built from the ashes of her marriage. And in the morning she would wake up and build it even higher. Winter came to the city, bringing early darkness and cold winds. But Simone barely noticed. Her business was thriving, her calendar was full, and she was building something she was genuinely proud of. Sterling Consulting had grown beyond her initial projections. What started as a one-woman operation now included 2 junior consultants and a full-time assistant. Simone had moved into a larger office space, complete with a conference room and individual workspaces. The walls were decorated with the logos of clients she had helped rebrand, products she had launched, campaigns she had designed. But the real transformation wasn't in her business metrics. It was in who she had become. The woman who had married Derek 7 years ago had been confident in her professional skills but dependent on external validation. She had measured her worth partly through her marriage, through being a good wife, through maintaining the appearance of a perfect relationship. The woman she was now didn't need anyone else to validate her worth. She knew what she brought to the table professionally and personally. She had faced betrayal and come out stronger. She had built a business from the ground up. She had proven to herself that she was capable of anything she set her mind to. Her therapist noticed the change during their regular sessions. You're different, Dr. Williams observed during a December appointment. More settled in yourself. I feel different, Simone admitted. I used to worry so much about what other people thought. About being likable, agreeable, not making waves. Now I just focus on being authentic. If people don't like it, that's their problem. What changed? Derek's betrayal showed me that trying to be perfect doesn't protect you from pain. I was the perfect wife, supportive, trusting, accommodating. And he still cheated and lied and stole from me. So being perfect is pointless. Being real is better. That's a hard lesson to learn. It was. But I'm grateful for it now. I would never have started my business if I was still trying to be the perfect corporate employee. I would never have taken risks or advocated for myself. Derek's betrayal forced me to choose myself, and that was the best thing that could have happened to me. Dr. Williams smiled. You've come a long way from the woman who sat in that chair 18 months ago crying about her husband's affair. That woman deserved to cry, Simone said. And she deserved to heal. I'm just continuing what she started. The healing continued in unexpected ways. Simone had been so focused on work and recovery that she hadn't thought much about dating. Then in January she met someone at a networking event. His name was Julian and he was a civil rights attorney. They struck up a conversation about a controversial legal case making headlines, and Simone was impressed by his thoughtfulness and integrity. He asked for her number, she gave it to him, and they started talking. Their first date was coffee, casual and low pressure. They talked for 3 hours, covering everything from their careers to their families to their favorite books. Julian was smart, funny, and refreshingly honest. When Simone mentioned she was recently divorced, he didn't probe for details. He just said, "That must have been difficult," and moved on. Their second date was dinner. Their third was a museum. By the fourth, Simone realized she was genuinely enjoying his company. But she was also scared. Trusting someone after Derek's betrayal felt dangerous. "I like you," she told Julian over dinner one evening. "But I need to be honest. My ex-husband cheated on me for 2 years. He lied about everything. And I'm not great at trusting people right now." Julian nodded thoughtfully. "That makes sense. Trust has to be earned, especially after it's been broken. I'm not expecting you to trust me immediately. I'm just asking for the chance to show you I'm trustworthy." "That's fair," Simone said. "And Simone? I'm not your ex. Whatever he did, whatever damage he caused, that's on him. Don't punish me for his mistakes." It was exactly what she needed to hear. Julian wasn't asking her to forget Derek's betrayal or pretend it didn't affect her. He was acknowledging it while asking her to see him as a separate person with his own character. Over the next few months, Julian proved himself. He was consistent, reliable, honest. He respected Simone's boundaries and didn't push for more than she was ready to give. He supported her business and celebrated her successes. He introduced her to his friends and family. He was in every way different from Derek. "I like him," Natasha said after meeting Julian for the first time. "He seems genuine." "He is," Simone agreed. "It's almost scary how different he is from Derek." "Different is good. Different is what you deserve." Meanwhile, Simone's professional reputation continued to grow. She was invited to speak at conferences about entrepreneurship, marketing strategy, and building a business from the ground up. She joined the board of a nonprofit that helped women start their own businesses. She mentored young professionals who were just starting their careers. And she started working on a book. It began as a series of blog posts about her experiences starting Sterling Consulting. But as she wrote, she realized there was a bigger story to tell. A story about recognizing financial abuse in relationships. About the warning signs she had missed. About how to protect yourself financially. About rebuilding after betrayal. She titled it Building Sterling: How I Transformed Betrayal into Success. Writing the book was therapeutic and painful in equal measures. Simone had to revisit the worst moments of her marriage and divorce. She had to be vulnerable about her mistakes and her pain. But she also got to document her triumphs, her growth, her transformation. The manuscript took 6 months to complete. When she finally typed "The End," she felt a sense of accomplishment unlike anything she had experienced before. This book was proof of how far she had come. It was evidence of her strength. Finding a publisher took another 3 months. But in June, 2 years after discovering Derek's affair, Simone signed a book deal. The publisher saw the potential in her story, not as a revenge tale, but as an empowerment story for women who had experienced similar betrayals. "This will help so many people," her editor said during their first meeting. "Women need to hear that they can survive this. That they can thrive." "I hope so," Simone said. "If my pain can help someone else avoid it or get through it, then it was worth something." The book was scheduled to publish the following spring. In the meantime, Simone continued building her life. Her relationship with Julian deepened. Her business expanded. She bought a vacation condo in the mountains, a place just for herself where she could retreat and recharge. On the second anniversary of discovering Derek's affair, Simone took a day off work. She drove to her mountain condo and spent the day hiking, reading, and reflecting. 2 years ago, she had been sitting in her home office, listening to her husband's unmuted microphone shatter her world. She had been devastated, heartbroken, furious. She had cried until she couldn't cry anymore. Today, she was sitting on a deck overlooking a mountain vista, planning her next business expansion and thinking about the book launch party she would have in the spring. She was in a healthy relationship with someone who valued her. She had built a successful business that reflected her skills and values. She had helped other women avoid or overcome similar situations. Derek's betrayal had been intended to destroy her. Instead, it had been the catalyst that pushed her to become the best version of herself. She pulled out her phone and sent a text to Natasha. "Thank you for being there through everything." Natasha replied immediately, "Always. You're my hero, you know that." Simone smiled. She wasn't a hero. She was just a woman who had refused to let betrayal define her. Who had chosen to build instead of crumble. Who had transformed pain into purpose. As the sun set over the mountains, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, Simone raised her glass of wine in a silent toast. To survival. To growth. To the life she had built from the ashes of her marriage. And to the woman she had become, stronger, wiser, and infinitely more powerful than Derek had ever imagined possible. Spring came with unexpected warmth, and with it the publication of Simone's book. Building Sterling, How I Transformed Betrayal into Success, hit bookstores in early April, and the response was immediate and overwhelming. The book resonated with readers who had experienced similar betrayals, financial abuse, or difficult divorces. Reviews praised Simone's honesty, her practical advice, and her refusal to present herself as a perfect victim. She wrote openly about the mistakes she made, the signs she missed, and the way she had enabled Derek's deception by being too trusting. But more importantly, she wrote about the way she had rebuilt. Not just financially or professionally, but emotionally and psychologically. She shared the tools she had used: therapy, financial planning, legal advocacy, building a support network. She provided resources for women in similar situations. She turned her pain into a roadmap for others. The book launch party was held at an upscale bookstore in downtown. Simone stood at the podium, looking out at a crowd of over 200 people. Friends, family, clients, colleagues, and strangers who had read her story and wanted to meet the woman behind it. 3 years ago, Simone began, I discovered that my husband of 7 years had been having an affair, stealing money from our joint accounts and planning to leave me with nothing. I was devastated. I felt stupid, betrayed, and completely lost. The crowd was silent, attentive. But I made a choice that day. I chose not to be a victim. I chose to document everything, build a case, and fight for what was rightfully mine. I chose to protect myself instead of trying to save a marriage that was already dead. She paused, gathering her thoughts. This book isn't about revenge, though some people will read it that way. It's about survival. It's about recognizing when someone is abusing your trust and having the courage to walk away. It's about understanding that you don't need to set yourself on fire to keep someone else warm. Applause rippled through the audience. I wrote this book for the woman I was 3 years ago. The one who heard her husband's unmuted microphone and had her world shattered. I wanted her to know that she would survive. That she would thrive. That the pain she was feeling wouldn't last forever, and that something beautiful was waiting on the other side. More applause. Simone saw several women in the audience wiping their eyes. If you're going through something similar, please know this: you are stronger than you think. You deserve better than betrayal. And you have the power to build a life that reflects your true worth. Thank you for being here tonight. The applause was thunderous. People stood, clapping and cheering. Simone felt tears prick her eyes, but they were good tears. Proud tears. After the speech, she signed books for over an hour. Women came through the line sharing their own stories. Some were going through divorces. Some had escaped financial abuse. Some were just beginning to recognize the warning signs in their own relationships. Your book gave me the courage to leave, one woman said, her hands shaking as Simone signed her copy. I've been planning my exit for 6 months, documenting everything like you did. Thank you for showing me I'm not crazy for wanting to protect myself. You're not crazy, Simone assured her. You're smart. And you're going to be okay. Another woman approached with her teenage daughter. I want her to read this, the mother said, so she knows what to watch for. So she never lets anyone treat her the way my ex treated me. Simone signed the book and looked at the young girl. You're worth more than any relationship that requires you to diminish yourself. Remember that. The evening was exhausting but fulfilling. By the time the last book was signed and the last guest had left, Simone was tired but happy. Julian had been there the whole time, supporting from the sidelines, and now he wrapped her in a hug. You were amazing, he said. I'm so proud of you. Thank you for being here. Always. The book's success continued over the following weeks. It climbed bestseller lists. Media outlets requested interviews. Simone appeared on morning shows and podcasts, sharing her story and her message of empowerment. Some people criticized her, saying she was profiting from her pain or using her divorce for publicity. Simone expected that and didn't let it bother her. She knew her motivations were pure. She wasn't trying to get famous or rich. She was trying to help other women avoid or overcome what she had experienced. Let them criticize, Natasha said during one of their regular coffee dates. You're doing important work. Not everyone will appreciate it, and that's okay. I know. It just gets tiring sometimes defending myself for trying to help people. Then stop defending yourself. Your work speaks for itself. The women you're helping, the lives you're changing, that matters more than what some critic thinks. Natasha was right as usual. Simone refocused on the positive impact her book was having. She started receiving messages from women who had left abusive situations, who had protected their finances, who had built their own businesses after divorce. Those messages mattered more than any criticism. Meanwhile, life continued in other ways. Sterling Consulting expanded again. Simone hired 2 more consultants and moved into an even larger office space. Her team was brilliant, diverse, and passionate about the work they did. She had built not just a business, but a culture that valued integrity, excellence, and supporting women-owned enterprises. Her relationship with Julian had grown serious. He met the version of Simone that Derek had never known, the confident, successful, self-assured woman who knew exactly what she wanted and wasn't afraid to ask for it. Julian loved that version of her. He supported her ambitions, celebrated her successes, and stood by her during the challenging moments. In July, he asked her to move in with him. Simone's first instinct was to say no. She had her house, her space, her independence. Moving in with someone felt like giving up control. But then she realized that was Derek's influence talking. She was measuring Julian against Derek's betrayal instead of seeing him for who he actually was. "Can I think about it?" she asked. "Of course," Julian said. "Take all the time you need. I'm not going anywhere." She thought about it for a week, weighing the pros and cons, examining her fears and concerns. Then she realized something important. Living alone wasn't making her stronger. It was just making her lonely. And choosing to build a life with someone who actually valued her wasn't weakness. It was growth. "Yes," she told Julian. "I want to move in with you." His smile was brilliant. Yeah. But I'm keeping my house. Renting it out, maybe, but keeping it. Just in case." "Just in case what?" "Just in case I need an exit strategy." Julian understood. "That's fair. I hope you never need it, but I understand why you want it." That was the difference between Julian and Derek. Julian understood her need for security and autonomy. Derek would have been offended by it. By September, 3 years after discovering Derek's affair, Simone had achieved more than she ever thought possible. Her business was thriving. Her book was a bestseller. She was in a healthy relationship with someone who respected her. She had helped countless women through her story and her advocacy work. But most importantly, she had healed. The sharp pain of Derek's betrayal had faded to a dull ache and then to nothing at all. She could think about those 7 years without anger or regret. They were just part of her story now, not the defining chapter. One afternoon, she was working in her office when Monica buzzed her intercom. "There's someone here to see you," her assistant said. "He says his name is Derek Carter." Simone froze. She hadn't seen or spoken to Derek in over 2 years, since his awkward phone call after the divorce was finalized. What could he possibly want now? "Tell him I'm in a meeting," she said. "He says it's important. That he just needs 5 minutes. Simone considered sending him away. She had no obligation to see him. But curiosity won. "Fine. 5 minutes. Send him in." Derek walked into her office looking nothing like the confident man she had married. He was thinner, his clothes were cheaper, and there was a tiredness in his eyes that hadn't been there before. He looked at Simone and she saw genuine regret in his face. "Thank you for seeing me," he said. "You have 5 minutes," Simone replied, not offering him a seat. "I read your book," Derek said. "I know I probably shouldn't have, but I did. And I wanted to say I'm sorry." "You already apologized." "I know. But after reading your book, I understand the full extent of what I did to you. The financial abuse, the emotional manipulation, all of it. I didn't see it that way at the time. I thought I was just protecting myself, planning ahead. But I was hurting you. Deliberately." Simone waited. "I came here to tell you that you deserve better than what I gave you. And to thank you." "Thank me?" Simone asked, surprised. "For not destroying me completely. You could have. You had the power to ruin me professionally and financially even more than you did. But you didn't. You just took what was fair and moved on. That showed more grace than I deserved." Simone considered this. "I didn't show you grace for your benefit, Derek. I showed it for mine. I wanted to move on, not stay tied to you through endless legal battles. Taking what was fair and walking away was the fastest path to freedom. Still, thank you." Derek hesitated. "I also wanted you to know that I'm in therapy now. Working through why I did what I did. Trying to be better." "That's good. I hope it helps you. Your book helped me see some things. About myself. About what I lost." Simone stood up, signaling the meeting was over. "Derek, I appreciate you coming here and apologizing. But I don't need your apology to move on. I already have. I built a life I love, and you're not part of it. Derek nodded, accepting the dismissal. I can see that. Your success, your book, all of it. You're doing amazing things. I am. And I'm going to continue doing amazing things. Without you. Derek walked to the door, then turned back. I really did love you, Simone. I was just too selfish to show it properly. Goodbye, Derek, Simone said firmly. He left. Monica appeared in the doorway moments later. Are you okay? Her assistant asked. I'm fine, Simone said. And she meant it. Seeing Derek hadn't upset her or stirred up old feelings. It had just confirmed what she already knew. She had moved so far beyond him that he was irrelevant to her happiness. That evening she told Julian about Derek's visit. How do you feel? He asked. Nothing. I feel nothing about him. And that's perfect. Julian smiled and pulled her close. You've come a long way. We both have, Simone said. I'm not the broken woman you met 2 years ago. You were never broken. You were just finding your way back to yourself. That night, Simone lay in bed thinking about her journey. 3 years ago, Derek's betrayal had felt like the end of everything. Tonight it felt like ancient history. A painful chapter that had led to better things. She had risen from the ashes of her marriage stronger, wiser, and more successful than Derek had ever imagined possible. And she wasn't done rising yet. 4 years after the unmuted microphone changed her life, Simone stood in front of a packed auditorium giving the keynote speech at the National Women's Business Conference. Behind her, a screen displayed the title of her presentation, Building Sterling, From Betrayal to Breakthrough. Success isn't just about achieving your goals, Simone said, her voice carrying clearly through the room. It's about becoming the person capable of achieving them. 4 years ago I wasn't that person. I was competent, hardworking, talented, but I was also someone who put other people's comfort above my own needs. Who made herself smaller to make others feel bigger. She clicked to the next slide, which showed the cover of her book, now in its 3rd printing. The moment I discovered my husband's affair, I had a choice. I could collapse under the weight of betrayal, or I could document it, analyze it, and use it as fuel for transformation. I chose transformation. Not because I'm special or particularly strong, but because I refused to let someone else's bad choices define my future. The audience nodded, many taking notes. Today, my consulting firm employs 15 people and serves over 100 clients annually. My book has helped thousands of women recognize and escape financial abuse. I'm in a relationship built on mutual respect and honesty. I own 2 properties, have financial security, and most importantly, I have peace. She paused for emphasis. I know. But after reading your book, I understand the full extent of what I did to you. The financial abuse, the emotional manipulation, all of it. I didn't see it that way at the time. I thought I was just protecting myself, planning ahead. But I was hurting you. Deliberately. Simone waited. I came here to tell you that you deserve better than what I gave you. And to thank you. Thank me? Simone asked, surprised. For not destroying me completely. You could have. You had the power to ruin me professionally and financially even more than you did. But you didn't. You just took what was fair and moved on. That showed more grace than I deserved. Simone considered this. I didn't show you grace for your benefit, Derek. I showed it for mine. I wanted to move on, not stay tied to you through endless legal battles. Taking what was fair and walking away was the fastest path to freedom. Still. Thank you. Derek hesitated. I also wanted you to know that I'm in therapy now. Working through why I did what I did. Trying to be better. That's good. I hope it helps you. Your book helped me see some things. About myself. About what I lost. Simone stood up, signaling the meeting was over. Derek, I appreciate you coming here and apologizing. But I don't need your apology to move on. I already have. I built a life I love, and you're not part of it. Derek nodded, accepting the dismissal. I can see that. Your success, your book, all of it. You're doing amazing things. I am. And I'm going to continue doing amazing things. Without you. Derek walked to the door, then turned back. I really did love you, Simone. I was just too selfish to show it properly. Goodbye, Derek, Simone said firmly. He left. Monica appeared in the doorway moments later. Are you okay? Her assistant asked. I'm fine, Simone said. And she meant it. Seeing Derek hadn't upset her or stirred up old feelings. It had just confirmed what she already knew. She had moved so far beyond him that he was irrelevant to her happiness. That evening she told Julian about Derek's visit. How do you feel? He asked. Nothing. I feel nothing about him. And that's perfect. Julian smiled and pulled her close. You've come a long way. We both have, Simone said. I'm not the broken woman you met 2 years ago. You were never broken. You were just finding your way back to yourself. That night, Simone lay in bed thinking about her journey. 3 years ago, Derek's betrayal had felt like the end of everything. Tonight it felt like ancient history. A painful chapter that had led to better things. She had risen from the ashes of her marriage stronger, wiser, and more successful than Derek had ever imagined possible. And she wasn't done rising yet. 4 years after the unmuted microphone changed her life, Simone stood in front of a packed auditorium giving the keynote speech at the National Women's Business Conference. Behind her, a screen displayed the title of her presentation, Building Sterling, From Betrayal to Breakthrough. Success isn't just about achieving your goals, Simone said, her voice carrying clearly through the room. It's about becoming the person capable of achieving them. 4 years ago I wasn't that person. I was competent, hardworking, talented, but I was also someone who put other people's comfort above my own needs. Who made herself smaller to make others feel bigger. She clicked to the next slide, which showed the cover of her book, now in its 3rd printing. The moment I discovered my husband's affair, I had a choice. I could collapse under the weight of betrayal, or I could document it, analyze it, and use it as fuel for transformation. I chose transformation. Not because I'm special or particularly strong, but because I refused to let someone else's bad choices define my future. The audience nodded, many taking notes. Today, my consulting firm employs 15 people and serves over 100 clients annually. My book has helped thousands of women recognize and escape financial abuse. I'm in a relationship built on mutual respect and honesty. I own 2 properties, have financial security, and most importantly, I have peace. She paused for emphasis. That peace didn't come from revenge. It didn't come from making my ex-husband pay, though he did face consequences for his actions. It came from building something better than what I lost. From recognizing that my worth wasn't tied to my marriage or anyone else's opinion of me. After the speech, Simone was surrounded by attendees wanting to share their stories and ask questions. She spent an hour talking with women who were going through divorces, starting businesses, or rebuilding after betrayal. Each conversation reminded her why she did this work. A young woman approached hesitantly. I'm in a similar situation to what you described. I know my husband is hiding money, but I'm scared to confront him. What if I'm wrong? What if I ruin everything? Simone took her hand gently. If you're wrong, an honest conversation will clear it up. If you're right, confronting it protects you from further harm. Either way, knowing the truth is better than living in doubt. Document everything, consult with a lawyer, and trust your instincts. What if I can't afford a lawyer? There are organizations that provide free legal aid for women in situations like this. I'll have my assistant send you a list. Don't let money stop you from protecting yourself. The woman's eyes filled with tears. Thank you. Your book, it made me realize I wasn't crazy for suspecting something was wrong. You're not crazy. Trust yourself. That evening, Simone flew home. Julian picked her up from the airport, greeting her with flowers and a smile. How was the conference? He asked. Inspiring. Exhausting. Important. Simone settled into the car, feeling the familiar comfort of being with someone who genuinely cared about her well-being. How was your week? Good. I closed the discrimination case I was working on. The plaintiff won. That's wonderful. They talked about their work as Julian drove toward the home they now shared. It was a beautiful house in a quiet neighborhood, carefully chosen to be theirs together rather than belonging to either of their pasts. Simone had sold the house she had shared with Derek, not wanting those memories in her new life. The money had gone into investments in her business expansion. At home, they made dinner together, moving around the kitchen in comfortable synchronization. This was the life Simone had built. Not perfect but real. Not without challenges but filled with respect, honesty, and genuine partnership. I have something to tell you, Julian said over dinner. Simone looked up, curious. I've been offered a judgeship. It's a significant promotion, but it would mean less time for my private practice work. That's amazing. Are you going to take it? I want to. But I wanted to talk to you first. It will change my schedule, might mean less flexible hours. Simone reached across the table and took his hand. Julian, this is your career decision. I support whatever you choose. We'll make it work. You're sure? Completely sure. You've supported every decision I've made about my business. I want to do the same for you. This was partnership. Derek had made major decisions without consulting her, claiming he was protecting her from stress. Julian included her while respecting that ultimately, his career was his choice. just as hers was her own. A few weeks later, Simone received an unexpected email. It was from Heather. The subject line read, "I owe you an apology." Simone stared at the email for a long moment before opening it. She had not thought about Heather in years. According to what she'd heard through professional networks, Heather had moved across the country after her own divorce and termination, trying to rebuild her life and career. The email was brief but direct. "Simone, I know you have no reason to read this, much less respond. But I wanted to apologize for my part in your pain. I had an affair with your husband, knowing he was married. I laughed at your trust and participated in his betrayal. There's no excuse for my behavior. I was selfish, immoral, and cruel. Your book opened my eyes to the full extent of what we did to you. The financial abuse, the manipulation, all of it. I'm ashamed of who I was then. I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted you to know that I'm sorry, and that I'm working to be a better person. You deserved so much better than what Derek and I put you through. Heather." Simone read the email twice, feeling nothing but a mild sense of acknowledgement. Heather's apology was nice, but it didn't change anything. It didn't heal wounds that had already healed. It didn't give back time that had already been reclaimed. She typed a brief response. "Heather, I appreciate your apology. I hope you've learned from your mistakes and that you're building a better life for yourself. I've moved on from that chapter of my life and wish you well in yours. Simone." She hit send and closed the email. That was closure. Not dramatic, not emotional. Just the simple acknowledgement that everyone involved had moved forward. That weekend, Simone met with her business team for their quarterly planning session. Sterling Consulting had grown beyond her initial vision. They were now considering franchising the model, allowing other consultants to open Sterling offices in different cities. "This could be huge," her business partner said. "We could help women entrepreneurs across the country." "It's exciting," Simone agreed. "But we need to make sure we maintain our values as we expand. Quality over quantity. Supporting women over maximizing profit." They spent hours planning the expansion, discussing logistics, finances, and strategies. This was Simone's passion project now. Building something that would outlast her. Creating opportunities for other women to succeed. Her phone buzzed with a text from Natasha. "Coffee tomorrow? I have news." They met at their usual coffee shop the next morning. Natasha was practically bouncing in her seat. "I'm getting married," she announced, showing off an engagement ring. Simone hugged her friend tightly. "I'm so happy for you. Tell me everything." As Natasha described her proposal and wedding plans, Simone felt genuine joy. Her friend had found someone who valued her, respected her, and wanted to build a life with her. That was what Simone had always wanted for Natasha. "You'll be my maid of honor, right?" Natasha asked. "Of course." "I want you to know," Natasha said seriously, "watching you go through your divorce and come out stronger inspired me to leave my own bad relationship. If you hadn't shown me that survival was possible, I never would have met Jordan. You changed my life." Simone felt tears prick her eyes. "You were there for me when I needed you most. I'm glad I could return the favor. We saved each other." That simple statement held so much truth. Friendship, real friendship, was about mutual support. About being there through the hard times and celebrating the good ones. Natasha had been Simone's rock during the darkest days. Now Simone got to celebrate Natasha's happiness. 6 months later, Simone stood beside Natasha as she married the love of her life. The ceremony was beautiful, filled with joy and laughter and love. Watching her friend promise forever to someone who genuinely deserved her trust reminded Simone of what she had learned over the past 4 years. Not all love is like Derek's. Not all marriages end in betrayal. Some people are genuinely trustworthy, genuinely kind, genuinely committed to building something real. Julian was one of those people. And Simone had learned to recognize the difference between someone who claimed to love her and someone who actually showed it through actions. That evening at the wedding reception, Julian pulled Simone onto the dance floor. "Happy?" he asked. "Very," Simone replied. "I love you," he said simply. "I love you too." It was the first time she had said those words to anyone since Derek. They felt different now. More meaningful. More real. Because she was different. She knew her worth. She knew what real love looked like. And she wouldn't settle for anything less. As they danced, Simone thought about the journey that had brought her here. 4 years ago, discovering Derek's affair had felt like the end of the world. Tonight, it felt like ancient history. A painful lesson that had led to better things. She had survived betrayal. Built a thriving business. Written a best-selling book. Helped countless women recognize and escape similar situations. found real love, created a life filled with purpose, passion, and peace. Derek's betrayal had been intended to destroy her. Instead, it had freed her to become who she was always meant to be: strong, successful, unstoppable. The forgotten Mike that had shattered her world had also revealed the truth that saved her. And from that truth, Simone had built something beautiful. Not revenge, not even justice, something better. A life she deserved, a life she loved, a life that was entirely, beautifully her own. And that was the ultimate revenge: living so well that the betrayal became irrelevant, building so high that the ashes beneath her foundation couldn't be seen anymore. Simone Carter had risen, and she was still rising.